And so it's time to step up and prove that you deserve this position on the main roster.
Right, just because the team will always be an element in the LCS, you will not always be an element on the team. That's what has to be kept in mind for every one of these players as an individual competitor, and that's what you want to prove. Even if there's no more playoff spot to fight for, you're still fighting for your chance to say, hey, I belong here.
Definitely so. And these two teams really have had kind of opposite records in the second half. They have had very different fates. It's 5-1 for 100 Thieves in the second half, 1-5 for OpTic in the second half. So 100 Thieves definitely on a very big upswing. You know, going from 4-5 to 9-6, things are looking good. They do seem to be kind of finding their groove at the right time. There was a lot of talk from Meteos about how earlier in the split it felt like they didn't really have that cohesive playstyle, that they weren't working well together, and it feels that with Aphromoo on playmakers, with Cody Sun on late game team fighters, the team has direction and is finding a lot of success.
Well, let's see if they can find that success here today in the draft against OpTic Gaming, with Galio, Rise, and Olaf banned away by the side of OpTic. 100 Thieves ban away the Xayah, the Azir, and I was almost thinking, Azael, the Skarner might make it past bans once. Nope. But nope, not today.
Gotta wait for some nerfs, and then maybe he'll get to be played again.
I mean, we got that sweet meme tier 0.25 nerf coming up in 8.5, so
maybe that's it. Or, you know,
next patch might do it. Next patch might do it. But OpTic Gaming decide, all right, you took one purple bug off the table. Well, we've got another one lined up. They'll lock the Kha'Zix in for themselves there. 100 Thieves answer by grabbing the Varus and the Zac for themselves. Very popular picks in this current iteration of the meta.
Definitely the case, and Zac has always been such a big pick for Meteos historically. A very, very strong player on it, and I think it fits his playstyle quite a lot. Meteos, to me, has always been a guy who prefers to be farming instead of getting super proactive early. It's not that he can't adopt that playstyle, but a lot of the advantages he gets in his best games are purely through intelligent pathing, out-farming his opponents, getting in a level and an item lead, and then converting that into successful team fighting in games.
Well, if you want to talk about players playing champions that they are known for, that they're recognized for, that are iconic to them, powerOfEvil and this Orianna. I mean, he's the guy who had the Nashor's Tooth build that made people scratch their heads and then eventually made them believe, and we'll have to see what he can do on that champion here today, as they'll also lock into Caitlyn for Arrow.
He's definitely been an innovator in a lot of different ways. You know, not just the Nashor's Tooth, but also one of the first guys that I saw adopting fleet footwork on Orianna, you know, for the attack speed set bonus in runes, and also just the extra sustain in team fighting and lane as well. He's been a guy who is not scared to actually try new things out and has kind of made a name for himself doing that.
And the response from 100 Thieves to that well-known Orianna is grabbing the Taliyah for Ryu there in the mid lane, a champion that we haven't seen as much of recently, but if you're looking to play a roaming play style, she's one of the best things to take into it.
Yeah, and while she's definitely still getting some play, she's not considered kind of on the tier of Azir and Rise and those types of champions, or even Galio, who's getting banned out so heavily on this patch. But Taliyah is getting still quite some play internationally and is a champion that has incredibly strong wave clear, that can roam, that can, you know, kind of section off team fights and allow you to take objectives and take odd number of fights in ways that you wouldn't otherwise be able to do. So definitely a lot of power there for Ryu, and we'll see how well he's going to be able to transition that, because a lot of the success of 100 Thieves, as we said, has been through their bot lane recently, right? So getting a mid laner who can push out, who can roam bot, who can try to put them ahead makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it fits right into the game plan. And you're talking about the ability to take these odd-numbered fights and turn what looks like a bad situation into a good one. Well, both teams apparently don't like the idea of that anymore. As you look at the first couple of bans in the second phase, it's Gangplank and Shen, two of those top laners that can get into those fights that you otherwise couldn't influence. And even the third ban in the second part of it is Tahm Kench.
Yeah, a lot of globals, semi-globals here being banned away. I think it makes a lot of sense. You know, the Shen Kha'Zix combo is one that is very, very popular here too. So going to be able to take that out. Also something that is pretty safe and secure as a blind pick. It'll be interesting to see where the last ban is going to go, and it's actually towards Aphromoo, taking away one of his playmakers on that Bard. They want to limit him there, but Sion, again, is available on the table. The second most banned champion globally on 8.4, but 2 games in a row makes it through all the bans and is here on the table to be picked up if anyone wants it.
We'll see if the Thieves want to go for it here, if they have another plan in mind with only 4 seconds left before they lock in that 4th pick for this game, and they go for the Alistar, and that's what I want to see Aphromoo on a playmaker.
Exactly. This really does kind of fit the MO, and he is going to be able to put out a lot of pressure on the map roaming also. If they can have a good early lane, if you can knock down that turret, you can get out on the map, try to make plays, try to turn things around. And it's also such powerful engage when you look at the Alistar in combination with the Zac. The Kidnap can come out, a ton of CCs from both of these champions. They can kind of buy time for each other to either land the Kidnap or to land the Alistar stun and these sorts of things. So layering that CC can be very, very powerful. But Caitlyn, in her own right, is an extremely strong laner and going to be paired up with the Braum, who does offer a pretty nice CC chain there. If you can proc Braum passive, you can trap out of that or vice versa. So definitely a lot of kind of laning power these teams are trying to pick up.
All right, OpTic Gaming's got one pick left to go, though. They still got to find their answer in the top lane, and they're going to go with Cho'Gath for the blind pick. This does leave 100 Thieves with the counter pick for their final decision.
And I mean, they can just go Sion if they want just another frontliner, but the team certainly has the ability to draft more into split push styles, things like the Trundle. I really think, oh my God, we got a Darius locked in. Now this is something that I think is incredibly strong as far as a solo queue pick, and I've been hoping we would see, but Trundle is kind of my measured expectations. Darius is like the hard lane counter to tanks. The struggle with Darius is that if you get put behind, it can be very hard to get back into the game. And it's also a champion that sometimes it can be tough in competitive play to convert your lead because he is someone who wants to be fighting constantly. He wants to be in bloody games. Split pushing is not necessarily his style, so you need to force fights. You need to be aggressive and try to pull things off. But this is really kind of indexing very heavily on the laning phase. You want to see Ssumday crush the laning phase, or you're going to see him struggle to convert in team fights.
At the same time, though, I like the teammates he has lined up in terms of the champion picks. I mean, what is the thing that we always talk about Darius as one of his issues? It's closing the gap, right? Getting on top of the targets, being able to actually pose threat to people. But when you've got your own pull, when you've got the Zac Kidnap, when you've got the Taliyah Shove, when you've got the Alistar Headbutt, 3 out of 4 of your allies can displace an opponent closer to you and the death radius around you.
Feels good, but this is the first Darius since 2013 in the NALCS. So it has been a while, and I'm very, very excited to see what Ssumday is going to be pulling off. I do agree the CC, the engage, can work well with the Darius. One concern I have is, can they actually win the 2v2 up here in the top lane? Because Kha'Zix has a lot of early power, and it was actually Nick Wu, good friend of mine, who brought it out in 2013. So the throwback.
There's a name I have not heard in a while, Azael. The olden days of the
LCS. My boy right there.
Winning that 2v2, Darius, we know how good he can be in those skirmishes as well, just because, I mean, once you get a 5-stack on that passive, any physical damage you do to another target will also apply a full 5 bleeds. So I want to see how well OpTic is prepared to play around this and how well Ssumday is prepared to play it, and what particularly made him pick at this game, because this is going to be a fun pick to watch.
I mean, it is a strong lane counter to the Cho'Gath, right? And that is really what they are looking at this for. He's also going to be going Phase Rush there. So Phase Rush really does give you the ability to kind of chase down and continue these fights. You want to be taking these extended fights where you can stack up to that 5-stack bleed. You get that passive, and you can do a ton of damage.
And that's why you also like playing up against these tanks, right? I mean, if you're up against a big old meatball that's going to be in your face that you can just get stacks on, it then makes it that much easier as you're running through the fight. Maybe you've only got time to auto-attack the carry once and then dunk him. But if you can apply 5 bleeds with that single auto-attack, thanks to hitting the meatball for the last 15 seconds, you're doing all right.
Exactly, because you can transfer that bleed over to everyone else. And when you have that 5 stacks, your execute ultimate is going to be that much more powerful. But we're waiting now. We'll pass on any information about the pause when we do get it. Hopefully going to be quick and we can get back into this one, because I'm really excited to see if this pick pays off.
Yeah, the pick's going to be fun to watch, and not just even the Darius in the top lane, but I mean, I already talked about the playmaking potential that we see from a lot of the other picks on 100 Thieves. You've got 3 different displaces, but on the same time, if you make a misstep up against this OpTic Gaming team, could be rough.
Yeah, got the information on why we have the pause.
All right, later.
I would not leave Akaadian alone on stage.
Wait, what?
So we're pausing to deal with the fly.
Okay.
Disaster will hopefully be able to be averted, and we'll be able to get back into this one.
All right, we got to get rid of the fly. You can't have those kinds of distractions.
Yeah.
Not on the LCS stage. Not in week 8. Not when there's only 3 games left to play. You can't have a third of your games being plagued by some sort of little buzzy pest hanging around your head. It looks like we are going to be jumping back into game here very soon, so the action will be delayed only a moment longer, and then we'll be back onto the rift. There we go.
All right, we're back. Let's go. The Darius versus Cho'Gath. This is going to be where a lot of the focus really is. Yes, there are some pretty exciting lanes across the map, but I do feel that because it is such a lane-centric pick, you kind of need to find the success there. And honestly, if Ssumday can make this work, that puts a lot more pressure on other teams in pick and ban, because that is something you're always going to be having to worry about anytime you bring out a blind pick tank. And he's also someone who actually brought out the Nasus last year when a lot of players were talking about it as this good tank killing champion, but not a lot of people were actually willing to bring it out and try it out. So he is someone who has the confidence to bring out these new picks and does like to kind of play a lot of solo queue, practice those different picks, and try to transfer them over to competitive, and we'll see if this one can work.
And I like them playing it in this game as well, considering, like we said, they're jockeying for their positioning in playoffs. They have already secured the spot in playoffs, so taking the risk and going for something and saying, hey, this could be a pretty big deal going forward, but we have to figure that out eventually. This is the best time to figure that out.
I mean, if you can change how people have to play around you in the pick and ban, is when playoffs come, that's going to be a big deal. And he is starting Q, which is a little bit surprising to me. You know, the Q damage, if you can hit on the outside, is going to be giving you that healing and bonus damage as well. Definitely very powerful, but I'm actually of the opinion that a W start could be really, really strong into tanks, simply for the auto attack reset. The slow can allow you to actually chase these guys down and go for some pretty aggressive trades and fighting at level 1. But
you just walk into it.
Exactly, but he is playing it a bit of a different style, and as a result, Zig will have the push, so this is going to mean Ssumday cannot really trade into this mini wave, and we'll kind of have to back it up.
Plus, talking about Darius into those tank matchups, I mean, the champion naturally gets armor penetration just from the E. For those who aren't very familiar with Darius, since you don't see a lot of him in competitive play, the apprehend, not only is it the active component of pulling your opponents in, but oftentimes one of the big reasons you see people max that ability second, it gives you the armor penetration passively as you level it up, and it makes him really able to deal with those tanks.
Yeah, definitely so, and it's something that actually got buffed on a pretty recent patch a couple patches ago, so you were seeing kind of more of it in solo queue, more of it as an answer into some of these blind pick tanks, but this is really the first time in a really long time we're getting to see it in the NALCS.
All right. Taking a look at mid lane, not a whole lot happening early between the Orianna and the Taliyah. You mentioned kind of the game plan for 100 Thieves when you've got the bottom lane that's been doing the work recently that Cody Sun and Aphromoo have been putting in. It's going to be up to Ryu to just keep this lane shoved in against that Orianna, make sure that he's always on the roam first.
Yeah, definitely the case. He wants to be having lane priority. He wants to be the one who is able to move to those plays faster, earlier, as you say, and also, it's going to help to limit the options that Akaadian has if you can kind of keep the bot lane pushed in. If that's tougher to gank and tougher to approach, Akaadian will have limited options because Meteos definitely wants to kind of have this as an early farm state. But you can see Meteos has snuck up to the top side, and they want to try to get a kill on Zig. The lane looks like it's pushing towards Zig, though, so honestly, there's no reason for him to step forward and be aggressive, and he would have to get hit by the slingshot, but he's pretty far up now, and he's actually just kind of wandering in there.
Zig's just sort of hanging out. Meteos comes in. Zig already having flashed away, likely not going to have a way out of this one. There's your apprehend. Here comes your damage, and that will be first blood over to Ssumday's Darius.
Yeah, nicely done by Meteos. The lane gank. Zig was just not expecting it, but the wave was pushing to him. You don't need to walk forward like that. You sit back, you give respect to the jungler, and you collect that wave once it pushes to you, but he wanders forward, he gets taken down, and not only is that the kill, that's the flash too.
Akaadian in enemy territory, nearly getting himself caught out there. Ryu getting some nice damage down onto that jungler as he tries to make his exit. Akaadian not forced to blow any summoner spells to make the escape, but you always got to be prepared for those rotations.
Yeah, and here it is once more. So as you see, there's more minion waves on the red side. This means that it's going to push towards Zig. It means that he doesn't have to actually go and shove this wave in. And I'm not sure exactly why he's walking up into that bush. Maybe considering just putting a ward in the back brush and trying to anticipate a lane gank that was already there. But either way, once you're getting hit there, the phase rush is going to be procced. There's so much CC, so many slows, you're never going to get away. And this is a very early phage for Ssumday, so that's going to give you move speed on hit, plus the phase rush gives you that move speed on hit. So if you ever push too far up in the lane, there's very real potential for the Darius to just go on you at 100% HP and run you down.
And with that Darius already getting a kill, we've talked about the snowball. We've talked about how this champion can be so difficult to deal with from ahead. It's only going to get more difficult as he also has the phase rush. So in the team fights, once he gets a little bit of damage down, he's going to be difficult to contain.
So will be.
100 Thieves, though, we talked about Meteos being that early farmer. He has smart pathing. He gets those advantages passively by just having the game knowledge and the game sense to be where he needs to be. And going top lane like that, I mean, we were saying, how does it pay off? Zig shouldn't be walking up, but Meteos reads it right. He's like, okay, we still have the opportunity here. This could work, and it pays out.
And because Meteos cleared all through the top side of his jungle before he went in for that lane brush, there's not really that much of a cost to it anyway, because there's potential to actually counter gank any Kha'Zix gank coming in and these sorts of things too. So it's a smart path, and it really pays off big time. Might not have been expecting to get as much as he did, but either way, nicely done.
Nice little bit of CC in the bottom lane from OpTic, finding some damage onto Cody Sun there. Aphromoo will disengage things for him. But the OpTic bottom lane controlling the tempo of the lane for now, as is to be expected when Caitlyn is picked. You're almost always going to see her pushing things in, keeping the enemy very familiar with that landscape of their turret.
Definitely going to be feeling pretty good about the fact that it's even on farm, though. And now Meteos up to the top side pressuring. Ryu goes missing, and it's no fun zone for Zig.
Oh,
it means
no.
you have to back off. This is the right play, but it feels so terrible because not only are you losing all the gold, you're losing all the experience, which is so critical. So the blue buff gets stolen away. You're losing all this farm, and you don't really get much of an opportunity to do anything about that. And until Ryu actually shows up in mid lane, he doesn't get to walk back to the turret. So just now he gets to do something.
Doesn't get to play League of Legends. Meteos showing up here in the mid lane, lands the stretching strikes. Aphro's also there. The flash has already been used in Power of Evil. 1 versus 3 going to be kept alive a little bit longer. The damage continues. Akaadian comes in, not quite able to find the damage onto Ryu. It's 1 for 0, 100 Thieves.
Yeah, nicely done on the roam there from Aphromoo. They come up from the bottom lane, they come down from the top lane at the same time. This 3-man collapse and a ridiculous amount of CC there on a Power of Evil. Took him a long time to kill him off though, as the damage is pretty low, and there is the phase rush proc. You pull him in, you hit the W and the Q, and that is enough to proc it out. But so far, Zig has done a pretty good job as far as kind of stabilizing and not falling too far behind. He had to give up a lot of farm, unfortunately for him, because of the pressure that Meteos and Ryu exerted. And I'm also going to be really interested to see where Ssumday actually goes build-wise. Black Cleaver is pretty much a given, but from there's a lot of options. And here is the mid lane play again. Ryu and Meteos coming down from the top side. Flashed very early, nicely done from Power of Evil. But the stretching strikes had landed, knocks him into a seismic shove, and looking for a dive. He should have this.
Oh, the duck comes in, and Ssumday gets the solo kill. Snowball online.
Yeah, that's going to be pretty rough. And he has no TP, which means he can't even collect these minions after being pushed off another wave. So Ssumday is looking to shove this in, but Kha'Zix is here. Ssumday's got to run. Has flash.
Oh, he tried to go back into... Ssumday, you monster!
He's trying to bait out getting the Q onto for the heal proc there, basically. And Akaadian did not have his flash. So Akaadian had no way to actually close that gap. So he zones him out with the Q, flashes away. At the very least, he stopped the wave from being fully pushed in. So does help Zig there and gets him some farm. But now looking onto Ryu, and bottom lane is missing, so they can't continue the chase.
They can't continue the chase with Akaadian topside. That's 100 Thieves getting priority on the Drake. And the best types of games to have early Drake priority are the Infernal Drake, First Drake types of games, Azael. That is a fantastic reward for the side of 100 Thieves. And when you look at the team, we always talk about how Infernal Drakes help you more the more damage heavy your composition is. Something like Darius feeling good about having that extra damage.
Definitely the case. And thankfully for Zig, Akaadian did go up there and he actually stop that wave from being fully pushed in. So there's actually a lot of minions for Zig to collect, and as a result, just from that little jungle interaction, instead of it being like 25 plus CS, the farm is actually going to be pretty even here. So here is the play again. Ssumday connects on the Q, pull him in, phase rush procced, and now it's just go time. Run him down, 5 stacks up, hits the Q again, there's the dunk, and makes it look easy. That's how much damage you can put out. With that 5 stack, that is the true damage dunk coming through, and it's already a Black Cleaver to essentially just a Glacial Shroud and some tidbits here.
Yeah, we're talking about just a Glacial Shroud, but sometimes I think that item gets a little deceptive in terms of what it actually does. If you're talking defense stats, this thing's a cloth armor.
No, again.
And Meteos, Zig is just having the worst kind of day. Oh, but his family has a Cho'Gath no longer. Ssumday goes on a killing spree. He's not coming back for another 20 seconds, and that turret is going to drop between now and then.
And they're going to give solo gold. They're going to give solo gold to Ssumday.
This is ruthless.
On a silver platter here. He's going to be up 2,000 gold individually at 10 minutes. That is disgusting, and we're going to get to find out where he wants to go. He should push in the wave, reset that, go back to base, and he's going to have a lot of gold in his pockets, and we can find out if he wants to go for something like Black Cleaver Titanic, if he wants to go for something like the pseudo kind of tanky build. You can do things like Death Dance. You can just go pure tank from here on out and go Spirit Visage or Deadman. So there's a lot of options on the table now for Darius, and very excited to see what the interpretation of the build will be for Ssumday.
Yeah, with all those options available, the way he wants to play this and the role he wants to perform for his team should be a fun thing to see as the game goes on. I mean, the world's his oyster right now. Everything has been invested into him. Multiple trips from both Meteos and Ryu towards this top side of the map, and we were expecting Ryu to be all about roaming bottom. Hey, enable Aphro, enable Cody. And they're saying, no, Aphro and Cody, they're just going to hang out. They're going to sit tight. We know they're going to be useful later on. This top lane is volatile, and we're going to make sure it goes our way.
And that's kind of what Darius does. Anytime the champion is picked, the game is likely going to be about him. He is either going to slam your laner, or he is going to get slammed. And then
it's just going to be useless.
Yeah, it's usually one or the other. So it's not a champion that you want to sit back and farm even. You need to dominate in the early game to have the same level of effectiveness as some of these other champions in the later stages. So rightfully so, they put the focus up top. He has tier 2 boots now, in addition to the Black Cleaver Phage move speed proc, plus the phase rush. He's going to be getting a tremendous amount of move speed and chase down potential. And when you're at this point, it becomes so tough for Akaadian, because Akaadian cannot even necessarily go up there for a 2v1. Like, no. Darius has very good 1v2 potential against a jungler and a tank top laner, because as you said, you stack up your passive on the Cho'Gath, you spread that with 1 Q to Akaadian, and 1 Q with 5 stacks on Cho'Gath onto Akaadian plus your dunk will probably kill him.
Right, you hit him with the Q, you get the damage from the bleed. The ult itself will hit for just shy of 400 true damage right now. Akaadian has 1,000 health.
Yep.
So you're not going to have a good time in that 2 versus 1. Akaadian's pretty much just said, well, good luck, Zig. That's about all you can tell him at that point.
But we have to see them continue to extend this advantage, because while Darius is very clearly super strong in this 1v1 and really far ahead, things are pretty damn even elsewhere on the map, right? Things are not looking like that big of a deal in bot lane and mid lane and jungle or anywhere else. So really, it's all about Ssumday, 400 Thieves now, and if he cannot kind of convert on this advantage and continue to extend it, then they didn't really get much out of the pick. They didn't really get much out of all this pressure they put top. And to Zig's credit, he is not down that much farm. He is going to be down, you know, a decent chunk after all this is picked up, but he's at least still CSing. He's at least still going to be scaling towards this kind of inevitable Cho'Gath super tank.
And we know that even from behind, Cho'Gath can be incredibly relevant, right? Get into the team fights, Cho'Gath can get some good disruption, knock a couple people up into the air, drop some silences, and the feast for the execution. Ssumday will move over towards that Rift Herald now, though, along with his team, his jungler and mid laner that have been showing so much love so far. Grab this Rift Herald for themselves here again soon. 4-0 this game, though. 2,500 gold lead for 100 Thieves means that things have gone their way for these first 14 minutes. Drake will spawn for the second time here in just 60 more seconds. Akaadian, again, going to be looking for Ryu, putting a lot of effort into this mid lane this game. Ryu trying to get himself away, going to be forced to pop the heal, but Akaadian gets knocked backwards. Meteos looking to charge up that slingshot, maybe go in, look for the finish here.
Ssumday's here.
Sidestep, Ssumday coming in. Akaadian still looking to finish off that Zac, but even if he does, it's just the passive. Meteos flashing away to keep that one intact.
Yeah, that was a pretty close one there. Ssumday's kind of forced on both sides, both mid laners with heal down, but it's actually Meteos who has to blow his flash, so advantage OpTic in that case. And as you said, the Cho'Gath doesn't really need to have a ton of items to be effective, right? You can be behind, you can still become pretty powerful in that team fight, even just with your base damages and how tanky you are and the CC that you put out. So Zig just kind of has to keep hanging on and hope that the pressure his team's putting out elsewhere on the map will allow him time to really scale up and just try to stabilize in that matchup.
Well, he's got the tabbies for himself, still working on that Righteous Glory. Fumbling around with those components like you were talking about earlier, needs to get that first item yeah, exactly. He's trying to get that first item online as quickly as he can, and it's going to be important once he does. I like the fact that he's going for the Righteous Glory first, because it is one of those playmaking types of items, allows him to be more relevant despite how behind he is. Akaadian, once again, looking mid lane. He's putting so much time towards trying to shut Ryu down here, give powerOfEvil as much advantage as he can. Tries to move up there, but won't find anything.
I mean, it's pretty incredible, honestly, with all this attention that Ryu has not died at all. You know, is actually pretty much right around dead even in farm. He has been doing very well for himself, and we get some answers now for Ssumday. It looks like he's going to be going towards what is probably a Spirit Visage. Yes, that cowl could still be adaptive, but with the healing in Darius's kit, you are expecting it to be Spirit Visage. You get 30% CDR with that, plus your Cleaver, and a lot of surprise healing, especially if you can hit a multi-man Q. Can really kind of become deceptively tanky, even without building a lot of resistances, just through all the healing that Darius can do.
And one thing we haven't seen a lot of this game is those Aphromoo plays that we talk so much about with 100 Thieves. I mean, this team 5-1 so far. I believe it was that we said something along those lines in the second half of the split.
5-1.
A big reason for that is Aphromoo making plays, making things happen. Now it's powerOfEvil might be in some trouble. Ssumday pulling him right back with the apprehend. Flash away is not going to do a damn thing as Ryu gets himself on the board with the kill.
Yeah, nice roam down from Ssumday. At least they get him to flash out as Ryu looked like he had that kill sealed up. And Ssumday now looking for a Zig. He can just chase him down.
Does not
get
care.
Out of there, Zig.
He'll put himself right in the middle of this fight. The Weaver's wall comes through to make sure the rest of the team can't come help. Aphromoo going to remain in the brush to zone anybody else away. Now coming around, now looking to make that play. Can he get in for the headbutt into the pulverize? On to LemonNation, yes he can. Meteos comes back into the back lines, now looking to make the kidnap. He's got it. And Arrow's out of there. A 6-0 game for 100 Thieves. A perfect game so far.
This could be just double mid lane turrets off the Rift Herald. They're able to get the kills, push in, knock down 2 turrets, and they are just exploding this gold lead, doing so well on really snowballing this game. And now top lane again, pushing back towards somebody who can go up and collect that farm, get even further ahead.
The Thieves are looking good right now, Azael. And I mean, even when you're looking at the items, the Archangel Staff into the Haunting Guise, done for your Talia. Cody Sun's Varus has the Rage Blade, and Varus is that champion that is often seen as like the strongest one-item power spike AD carry. Just the way that item works, they're in a great spot.
So here it is once again. Cody Sun flash ult there onto the Caitlyn right as the turret is going down. That forces the flash from Arrow, but he wants to get back into the fight. And then Meteos over the wall, pulling Arrow back in, securing that kill. So a lot of resources committed to get that kill, but really nicely done. And I love that commitment and that aggression, because this is not the most incredible sieging team that 100 Thieves have. They need to be able to pull off dives and be aggressive like that to actually knock down turrets, and they're doing it so far.
They do have some incredible dive potential between Aphromoo and Meteos on the Alistair and Zach combo. Cody Sun knows that Arrow can't come up here and do anything to him. He's got plenty of buddies nearby to make sure of that one. Arrow puts a couple of shots into Aphromoo, but not going to do anything to save that objective. 4-0 in turret count, 6,000 gold lead for the Thieves.
In that bush, though, looking to set up a play. We'll see if Zig can actually get anything done.
I don't know. The Cho'Gath's so far behind, he's not even, is he even a monster anymore? I feel like when little kids go to bed, he's checking to make sure that they're not in the room. They're not looking for him. He's just not that scary at this point in time.
No, little Timmy!
Oh, no, it's Timmy. I got to get out of here. 100 Thieves are really happy about what kind of a position they put that Cho'Gath in. He's not having a great time. He's not relevant. And that puts them in a spot where they can do what you're seeing right now. Move into the enemy jungle, shut things down. Ssumday getting himself into a 1 versus 2 that he scares the 2 away in, because they're saying, nope, 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 nope. Get out of there.
Yeah, I mean, powerOfEvil, you would like to think he could burst him down, but Spirit Visage is already done, plus the Merc Treads. This is quite a tanky Darius at this point. Gonna have a lot of HP built up there too, so Kha'Zix likely not able to burst him down. And if you can't kill this guy before he gets 5 stacks, you are gonna be the one going down. So they'd have to back off. This is actually a TP coming in. They're just gonna chase down Zig. I mean, Ssumday's gonna be here. We'll see if he can get a kill, but I don't think Zig is gonna get that kill onto Ryu before Ssumday arrives.
Ryu pops the heal to make sure he stays out of the feast range, and Zig's got no way out except through that spawn platform yet again. 0-4-0 this game. 100 Thieves just picking on him. 3-0-2 for that Darius.
Nice teleport there, you have to say, from Ssumday. And Baron spawns. They're actually looking like they want to try to threaten the pit. They're just going to start the Baron right at 20
minutes into the game.
I mean, they have the Rage Blade Varus, and this is not something where they should probably continue it unless it is not anyone coming around, but they wall them off. They're looking like they may try to go for the finish. They could still look to turn, But we'll see. They want to commit to it. It's going to be theirs.
That's exactly what you want to see the
My
Weaver's
God.
Ball used for. 100 Thieves will just walk away. They know they're under no pressure, and 20-minute Baron. Perfect game so far. Everything's where they want it to be. 8,000 gold up. What a show.
That is going to be one of the fastest Barons we've seen in the NALCS ever. I mean, that was almost right on spawn. They just straight up knock it down. They have a couple dragons to their name, 4 turrets to 0. Both their solo laners are 3-0 and 2, and they are just looking so incredibly strong here. It's hard to think of a way for OpTic to really get back into this. You know, we talked about some of the weaknesses as far as sieging and these sorts of things. Baron really shores up all of those weaknesses, and the bare minimum I'm expecting 100 Thieves to get from this is the last 2 outer towers.
Right. You would expect, if any of it is still standing, for just the base of OpTic to be standing. There's no reason those tier 2s should be anything other than free gold at this point. Akaadian moves into the jungle,
but
he's spotted out, gets himself out in time. Aphromoo won't be able to catch him in time here, as 100 Thieves will continue clearing out some of that vision, moving themselves up, never afraid, constantly posturing forward. They've got Ssumday pushing up in the bottom side. There's some traps blocking off some of the pathing there to prevent the Thieves from flowing in through that little bit of a choke point.
OpTic looking for some bush shenanigans here, though, onto Ssumday, but he's playing it pretty slow until his team is around. We'll see. Oh,
good check from Ssumday. Now he's caught out, though. 1 versus 5. It doesn't matter how fed you are. The shutdown goes over to Zig, finally getting some vengeance.
Yeah, he was playing it so patiently, but does kind of jump the gun a little there, but at the same time, 100 Thieves can just run it straight down mid, and they're not only going to go for this inhibitor, but they are going to pull back for now, and we'll look to reset this. So they knock down the inhibitor turret. They cannot kill the inhibitor off just yet, but at least it's not a perfect game for OpTic. They are on the board, and they are kind of trying to do whatever you can. And in a situation like this, you cannot look to fight a 5v5.
No.
Your best hope is to try to get a very outnumbered play where you look for 4v1, 5v1, instantly kill someone off and hope that that can stall out the rest of it.
And even though they got it, you still can't feel super great about that considering you did lose the mid lane inhibitor turrets. So once this Baron fades away, 1 minute and 15 seconds from now, you've still got the possibility of 100 Thieves saying, we're 8,000 gold ahead. We're just forcing the fight in your base.
Yeah.
And at that point, it's still nearly impossible to defend.
It's definitely very tough, and Ryu shoving up top side with that Baron buff. Somebody's back out on the map, so they could look to try to collect some more of these outer golds, but despite the fact that they got that inhibitor turret, they did not get any more outers, at least yet, with this Baron. So, you know, we were kind of expecting the minimum with this lead to be 2, but because of the pick on Ssumday, they have only secured 1 turret, albeit a more important one.
One thing also worth pointing out, the next item for Ssumday here, Steric's Gauge.
Okay.
Incredibly powerful on Juggernauts. Gives you both the shield to survive burst, and now the burst comes through for Akaadian. He's going to be shut down there as Cody Sun under a little bit of fire. Not really afraid, though, any longer. Weaver's Wall going to allow Ssumday to get right where he wants to be, hitting that tank, burning him away. Doesn't even need the dunk. Decides to keep it in the back pocket for later. Make sure it's ready as the fight and the push continue. Trap finds its way onto Ssumday there. Meteos goes into the back lines, looking for the stretching strikes onto PoE. Can't find him. Don't need him. 100 Thieves, it's all about the inhib. Cody Sun, a couple more arrows will do it. He collects that one.
Yeah, good little sidestep there from powerOfEvil, staying safe. But it is 2 kills, it is the inhibitor, and the bottom lane is already pushed up, so now they should get this outer here probably, and we'll be able to kind of collect as that Baron buff ends, their 2nd turret, plus the inhibitor. Now looking for more arrow, gonna get caught!
Oh, Meteos does it again! That's how they got arrow the last time. That's how they got arrow this time. Meteos knows how to find those 80 carries. And without that big defensive tool of the Caitlyn there, Azael, they are just going to bulldoze through this base.
Yeah, it's a 007 secret agent Zach finding the engages
showing up out of nowhere.
Going to be able to knock down a 2nd inhibitor here, and they're just looking to close this one out very cleanly. 100 Thieves are on playoff form. They are looking good, and this has got to be very worrying for any team watching this game.
We talked about how this was a great game to experiment with the Darius pick, to check out whether or not this could be something that you want to take into playoffs, whether or not this is a strategy to keep available, to make your opponents think about. And honestly, the Thieves are making it look really good.
They really are, and the kind of cool thing about those advantages that you can get as far as the draft is, even if 100 Thieves never intends to pick Darius ever again,
they planted that seed in their opponent's head.
Exactly. You have to worry about it, and that can change what your opponents are willing to pick, what your opponents feel they have to ban. And that can really change and mess up the game plan around a team like this. it can be very similar to how sometimes teams have to play around who he's Aurelion Sol and things like this. When you have a pocket pick that can be so effective, that can take over games and has been shown to, you're always going to have it in the back of your mind.
Ssumday doing the classic Fed Bruiser solo queue play, taking the red buff. Don't worry, Mr. AD Carry, you don't need this one. I'll get good use out of it. We've all been there before. And now they set up the Death Brush in the enemy jungle, just waiting for Akaadian to maybe walk a little bit too close to this one. Meteos goes forward. Stretching Strikes will find him, but PoE is there providing the speed up and the shield. His ally needs to get out of that one. Trap line has been set. Defenses are drawn up. But is it going to be enough? Meteos getting ready. The Weaver's Wall comes out. It's powerOfEvil who's going to be caught out on this one. The damage continues to come through. powerOfEvil trying to get himself away, but the duck comes through.
The reset.
And that one is down right. Darius, he gets the damage he needs. It's going to be Zig making it a double kill for Ssumday as he looks for even more. 100 Thieves could be going for the end right now. Ryu on the front line, baiting Akaadian in, utilizing the power of the Archangel Seraph's Embrace shield. Gets the damage, gets the kill, and the Thieves are now onto the Nexus turrets. Arrow gone again. Cody Sun on a killing spree. Lemon stands alone, but he will not stand for long. The damage pours through. Meteos doesn't even care. All 4 Bloblets will die to the laser, but the Nexus will die to 100 Thieves. They make a statement with this game. You better be looking out for Darius in the top lane, and you better be looking out for 100 Thieves.
6-1 now in the second half of this split. 100 Thieves have been killing it and are looking so strong going towards playoffs. And for OpTic, it's another disappointing game. You know, they're already knocked out of playoffs. They're looking for those improvements. They're looking to secure their spots on the team for next split. But this was a rough one.
100 Thieves, we talked going into this about how it's not just about getting to playoffs. When we mentioned, yes, they're playing for playoff seeding. They're playing for positioning at this point in time. Getting to playoffs is great, but you didn't win anything by going to playoffs. Getting to playoffs means you get to enter into the big contest, right? The real final showdown. And this is a team that looks like they're entering into that the best way they could be.
They certainly are, and with some of the teams looking like they are on a bit more of a downward trend towards the end of this split. You know, TL starting to struggle a little bit towards the later half of the split. Echofox picking up losses, C9 picking up losses. Some of these teams are starting to look more vulnerable, and 100 Thieves are really peaking at the right time. This is a team that is going to put some fear in the hearts of anyone they match up to in the first round of playoffs.
Which feels fantastic for this organization that, like we said at the beginning of the game here today, one of the new teams that came into the LCS through the franchising system, right? One of these teams that people didn't know what to fully expect from because this was their first showing in the North American LCS. And for in your first split to make it to playoffs and to play as impressively as they've been playing recently, that says a hell of a lot to me.
It really does, and it's also, you know, it's kind of all smiles for 100 Thieves because it's going to feel even better that they're now showing a different way to win, right? We've talked about at the start of the day how many of their wins recently have been kind of through the incredible playmaking of Aphromoo, the fantastic team fighting of Cody Sun. They didn't need that. It's not that Cody Sun or Aphromoo had a bad game, but the game was not about them. No. It was about the roaming from the top side of the map, Meteos and Ryu really grouping up with Ssumday to get him ahead, and Ssumday in this really big counter pick type matchup. They were able to blow the game wide open, and just honestly impressive stuff from 100 Thieves.
Playing like that, it's always fun to see a team be able to switch it up and succeed one way or the other. And now we're going to send things down to OpTic and the Executioner in the top lane for 100 Thieves.
Thanks, guys. I am here with Dunk Master Ssumday. Congratulations on that win for 100 Thieves. Tell me, what inspired the pick for Darius today?
I was looking for the secret Joker pick, and I saw the Darius got buff. So this comp is very good for Darius, so I was picked.
Did you enjoy the pick?
Yes.
Well, I think people enjoyed watching you play him. We only have 1 week left in the regular split. How is 100 Thieves preparing for playoffs?
Sometimes we was bad and sometimes we good, but I know we getting better, so you guys can looking forward future.
Well, congratulations again on that win Ssumday. Thank you. And thank you, Joanne, for being our safety net here. To wrap up the day, let's hear it from the State Farm Analyst Desk.
Thank you, Avali. And the award for most adorable interview goes to Me.
iBoy.
No, got Mark.
Ssumday was good.
It was Ssumday, 100%.
Nice.
Oh,
Of the day.
of the day.
Yeah.
Here in the North American LCS, that would be Ssumday. 100 Thieves, 10-6 here in the regular season with 2 games left to go. Looking very good, solidly in the playoff picture. But the story of this game was the man who was just on your screen in the Darius pick up in the top lane.
Darius.
Yeah, this is a good champion. They did some really interesting stuff in the early portion of the lane. You heard Azael talking about taking W and trading really aggressively at tanks, but he actually starts Q, doesn't use it to push the wave, and lets the wave come into him, bounces, resets, and then that's when they get that gank off because Meteos is clearing his way up to the top side. They get that first kill, and then it's Darius' show.
Yeah, and Darius was buffed in patch 8.4, but he's always been very good into tanks. You just generally don't see it in pro play because teams don't want to dedicate the resources towards that top side, and because a coordinated 2v2 can kite you. But 100 Thieves alleviated a lot of those concerns with pretty good warding and good ganks early.
Feels like a very feast or famine champion,
Oh, yeah.
right?
What?
What is going on?
I was going to
over
sing
there?
the song, but I don't
We're trying to
actually
have
know
a serious discussion here.
Yeah,
Mark.
end
What's-
the
I don't know if you're aware of that.
End of day.
But if
Everyone
you
wants
could-
the utmost serious.
Let's talk
What
runes,
song are
though,
you trying to
because,
sing?
hey, if you're
Welcome to the slam, whatever.
Oh, this
I'm
Space
losing
Jam song.
control.
Okay.
I need a gavel.
Those are the runes.
Yeah, and this is kind of a how would you play Darius if you do it. I think Phase Rush is the right option since you need the sticking power, and it's all about getting your 5 stacks so you gain that huge amount of AD. And I know Azael talked a lot about this during the game, but specifically these runes. Scorch for more early game, since your ult is true damage anyway, and you're going to be pretty scaled that way. And Transcendence is once you get Black Cleaver, hitting the 40% CDR makes your W like a 3.5 second cooldown and your Q even lower. So it makes it really hard for people to maul you or like mob up on you because your cooldowns get so low.
I mean, here's my next question, though. How many times can he pull this out? Or can he ever pull this out again? Because we kind of talk about the narrow win conditions of a Darius. It does feel like a lot of times with pocket picks, it's a one-and-done kind of situation.
I mean, TL versus 100 Thieves, first round of the playoffs potentially, you know? Is this something you're willing to play into Ssumday's pool of tanks? Most likely. I mean, if you can play this way, you need to understand that now that people have seen it, they might start game planning. But I do like seeing this out of Ssumday because 100 Thieves for so long have been the Cody Sun show, and it's finally a different story. He didn't have that 90% KP out of their AD carry.
I agree. Even Ryu had a good game here if the focus was on Ssumday, but Ryu had solid roams with his Chalea walls. We got to see it in some of that replay. He cut off the collapsing OpTic when they got the 20-minute Baron. This was probably 100 Thieves. This got to be their fastest win of the year, right?
It's definitely close. They are 6-1 on the back half of the split right now. I think we need to kind of call attention to that fact. While some of the top teams are trailing off and struggling with trading wins and losses, this is one of our teams that has put together the most complete back half of the split.
Did Cody Sun die this game? I just want to triple check. Because if not,
I'll tell you in a second.
in the second half of the split, he has only died 3 or 4 times, depending on if he died this game.
Maybe I won't tell you.
In the
He
whole
did not
second
die! He did not die!
He has
I got
3
it.
deaths in the second round robin
guys
in the
rock.
last 7 games. Like,
Hey, someone
that's
put him
clean.
as their 3 seed in their playoff bracket prediction.
I almost did.
Who was that?
That was me.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, great.
Did you
thanks
predict
thanks for clarifying.
FlyQuest properly?
Oh, shut up. I feel like we have exhausted our talking points for this game. Ssumday, Darius, good. All right, now as the regular season approaches, it's final week rather. Plenty of